Let us explore the secret to consistent meditation. This morning's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Reddit. And the question begins, why do I always stop meditating after a couple of days? The question continues. I've tried to get into daily meditation a couple of times through the years, but I've always kind of just stopped after a few days. The weird thing is that when I do meditate, it is very enjoyable. But still my brain views meditating as boring. If anyone has any tips on how do I actually stick with meditating this time, I would be very grateful, thankful, fabulous. Well, to the person who wrote this question, thank you for your enthusiasm and your sincerity, and I will happily help you get to the bottom of this. Let's talk about science. Let's discuss biology. Every life form is every complex life form is driven by the quest for dopamine. And there are many, well, let me just jump back for a second. If what we are doing does not give us dopamine, in fact, if it takes away our dopamine, then doing it completely, no less consistently, is going to be an impossibility. There are many styles of meditation. We must choose the style of meditation based on our neurotype. Personally, I have neurodivergence with all the trimmings. So if you have anything that even smacks of ADHD, I suspect the techniques I'm sharing with you this morning could help. So I think it's useful to take a moment to review a portion of the 7 enlightenment factors. If the style of meditation we are using does not increase our energy or our joy or our tranquility, then it's not in alignment with the Buddha's teachings, and it's most likely not going to be effective. It's not going to release dopamine and make regular practice an inevitability. So I have a two-pronged approach to helping you this morning. First, I would like to explore the neuroscience of mindfulness and meditation. And second, I would like to walk you through the process known as Bengali crease counting, which will really help you to manage your energy so you don't fall asleep during meditation. The more pleasurable the energy is, the more likely you are to repeat meditation regularly. So, having said that, to understand the neuroscience of meditation, before we can understand what to do, we have to understand what not to do. And that begins with Sturgeon's Law, which reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, and not in the fun, tingly way. That 90% of everything includes humans, and that 90% of humans also includes meditation teachers. So do not be surprised when 90% of meditations out there sincerely feel that being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel is where it's at. It ain't. But that makes a lot of sense when we look at the neuroscience of what's going on. So we're going to work with a rather crude iteration of the human brain. When we have rigid teachers, 9 times out of 10, they're going to instruct us to actively concentrate or actively analyze or both. The only way to perform either of those activities is to rely upon the discrete neurological structures found in regions such as our medial prefrontal cortex as well as our dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. Now, the prefrontal cortex is absolutely fabulous. If you want to compare, contrast, analyze, edit, compute, calculate, and the like, it's fabulous. It's like a Stradivarius, but as such, it does require kid gloves. If we overuse it, that will trigger our amygdala. This lumpy thing that kind of looks like a pea is the seat of our aggression and our anxiety. So when this is triggered, we are no longer in pleasure. We are no longer in bliss. We're no longer releasing dopamine. So, and of course, if we ignore the red flags and keep abusing and overusing our own prefrontal cortex, we could begin presenting with symptoms of depression. So that's a big fat no-no. I think you'd agree. Now that we know what not to do, let's explore what regions of the central nervous system are ideal for both mindfulness and meditation. We'll begin with mindfulness, which is the seventh fold of the Buddha's eightfold path. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we are wired to access our sympathetic nervous system automatically. The sympathetic nervous system is found in the middle third of our spinal cord, and it has evolved to help us perceive in a special way, to help us perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly, which is the opposite of those attributes that we just read. That is less like being rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel, and more like being flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. So what is it that our sympathetic nervous system has evolved to perceive? Well, it's evolved to perceive sights, sensations, flavors, scents. Let's try this again. Sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. It has also evolved to perceive emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. Now that could feel a little overwhelming. Fortunately, there's a pressure valve. We might call it meditation or the eighth fold of the Buddha's eightfold path, but every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we access our parasympathetic nervous system, which is located in the lower third as well as the upper third of our spinal cord. This parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. As a fringe benefit of training in mindfulness and meditation, our amygdala is calmed. And in its place, this thing is stimulated. This thing that kind of looks like the letter C. This thing that is described as the anterior cingulate gyrus. This thing that functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy and compassion and love. This is why both Tulku Thondup and Dilgo Khyentse insisted that we cannot concentrate or analyze our way to love, that the highest love is spontaneous and uncontrived. Furthermore, the more we persist with mindfulness and meditation, at least 5 minutes every 12 hours or so, the more we will find that our choices and our utterances and our deeds are flowing from the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity. Not scattered spontaneity, but centered spontaneity. This goes a long way to creating the dopamine release that drives habit formation. Now, I promised that we will also explore, what's it called? Bengali crease counting. And we will after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy wrong button. Sorry, kids. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I've spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. So, before we get into the instruction for Bengali crease counting, let's chant together, chant the first quarter of the Heart Sutra. Let us set intention by chanting love and letting go's wishes for universal enlightenment and well-being. May all circumstances of all beings appearing yet impermanent be as safe and abundant as a real or imagined Buddha's land. May all minds of all beings clear yet impermanent be as joyfully enlightened as a real or imagined Buddha's mind. May all relationships of all beings resounding yet impermanent be as peacefully loving as a real or imagined Buddha's speech. May all bodies of all beings sensual yet impermanent be as beautifully healthy as a real or imagined Buddha's form. Together. It is said that Quan Chi and Pu saw an archetype of love and letting go, while moving in the deep peace of the perfect understanding of awareness and release. Shed light on the 5 aggregates and found them equally empty. After this realization, she made peace with all pain. So the 5 aggregates, or the 5 heaps, is just one of many systems of organizing human experience. And in this circumstance, the 5 simply refer to our body, our experience of pleasure or pain, our experience of the intensity of that pleasure and pain, known as appraisal, the survival drives that the appraisal and feeling stimulate, and our awareness of what's going on. That's it. Super simple. Let's just demystify the whole process. Listen, Shariputra, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Form does not differ from emptiness, emptiness does not differ from form. The same is true with feeling, appraisal, impulse, and awareness. So, what do we mean by emptiness? Emptiness, if taken literally, is an absurdity. Emptiness only makes sense when taken figuratively. So, let's look at the mechanism of meditation literally. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever body we noticed during the previous inhalation could begin to feel less solid, less permanent, less defining. Fabulous. Now let's explore that figuratively. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever body we noticed during the previous inhalation can begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever body we noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could be tantalizing to the eye, is non-graspable to the hand. There you go. So, the most efficient way to practice mindfulness is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation. Similarly, the most efficient way to practice meditation is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation. Doing so will help us to perceive and release. And now, let's get to that Bengali crease counting that I promised. Bengali crease counting has 3 phases. The first phase is keeping track of our collections of 96 breaths. And so we keep track of our collections. By using the great knuckles at the base of our right fingers. For instance, for the first collection, we would draw our attention to our right index finger and specifically the great knuckle at its base. There we go. Now what we want to do is gingerly rest that great knuckle at the base of our right index finger upon the tip of our left index finger. In our lap, palms up. I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. Let's hit button 9. So this area right here. Well, we've figured, so that's the first third. And doing so, by the way, draws our subtle energy to the crown of our head. For that's the way the index fingers work. Now, 96 might seem like an insurmountable number, but it's merely 8 sets of 12 repetitions, or rounds. So let's pretend that a round is simply one inhalation followed by one exhalation. So let's figure out how to count 12 repetitions on just 4 fingers and 1 thumb. Using our right hand, during each inhalation, when we silently and mentally recite this, let us touch the tip of our right thumb to the first set of creases. So please practice along with me while silently and mentally we recite this ease in harmony with our breathing. Now, if this seems overwhelming, that's fine. Play with this exercise every 12 hours or so for the next fortnight before passing judgment. So we've discussed how to count one set of 12 repetitions or rounds. And now let's figure out how to count the sets. These, we've counted the reps. On the left hand, we're going to count the sets. And we will count the first set on our left index finger, as well as the second set, and then the third set, and then the fourth set, and then the fifth set, and then the sixth set, and then the seventh set, and then the eighth set. Play with this every 12 hours for a week or two, and before you know it, you'll feel like you've been doing it your whole life. So now let's perform our first collection of 96 breaths. Pardon me. And now a bit of the old. Let's chant the second quarter of the Heart Sutra. Listen, Shariputra, all phenomena are marked with emptiness. They are neither produced nor destroyed, neither corrupted nor purified, neither increasing nor decreasing. Therefore in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no appraisal, no impulse and no awareness that once perceived cannot be released. No sensation, no flavor, no scent, no sound, no sight, no phenomena that once perceived cannot be released. No body, no tongue, no nose, no ears, no eyes, no mind that once perceived cannot be released. No feeling, no tasting, no smelling, no hearing, no seeing, no noticing that once perceived cannot be released. So now, oh, no worries, Jay. Life happens, my friend, life happens. So now let us keep track of our second collection of 96 breaths by gingerly touching the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger and resting it gingerly upon the tip of the left middle finger, and then keeping the two in our lap. While we use the thumb and fingers of our right hand to count 12 repetitions, and we use the thumb and fingers of our left hand to count 8 sets of those 12 repetitions. Having completed our second quarter of meditation, let's begin chanting the third quarter of the Heart Sutra. No interdependent origins and no extinction of them. From confusion to aging and death that once perceived cannot be released. So this is a ungainly way and stylized way of saying that whatever we notice, we can release. Whether it's interdependent origins, or whether it's the extinction of interdependent origins. So for instance, whether we are noticing the presence of confusion, if we notice it, we can release it. If we notice the absence of confusion, we can release it. Whatever action, whatever presence or absence, whatever presence or absence of actions we can notice, we can also release. Whatever presence or absence of awareness we can release. Whatever presence or absence of labeling we can release. Whatever presence or absence of our sensory organs we can release. Whatever presence or absence of our act of actively using our sense organs, we can both perceive and release. Whatever experience of pleasure or pain or neither, we can, or absence thereof, we can perceive or release. Whatever craving, present or absent, we can perceive and release. The same holds true for clinging, existence in a manner in which we are slaves to our impulses. The same holds true for birth as well as death. If we can, whatever presence or absence of death we can notice, we can therefore also release through the mechanism, the interplay of our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation. Let's continue. Please chant with me. No stress, no confusion, no liberation, no path, no understanding, no attainment that once perceived cannot be released. Because there is no attainment that once perceived cannot be released, the bodhisattva archetypes of awareness and release supported by perception and releases perfection of understanding. Find no obstacles for the minds that once perceived cannot be released. Having no obstacles that once perceived cannot be released, they transcend the tyranny of fear. So what does that mean? Fear may be present, but it no longer treats our choices, utterances, or deeds as if they were puppets. Let's continue. Liberating themselves forever from the tyranny of illusion and realizing perfect nirvana. All Buddhas of the past, present, and future, thanks to this perfect understanding of noticing and releasing, arrive at full right and universal enlightenment. Okay. What is the most efficient way to practice mindfulness? Simple. Silently, mentally, and passively recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation. Similarly, what is the most efficient way of practicing meditation? Just silently, mentally, and passively recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation. And since now we are standing upon the precipice of our third collection of 96 breaths, let's gingerly rest the great knuckle at the base of our right ring finger upon the tip of our left ring finger in our lap. With the right hand, let us count 12 repetitions. With our left hand, let us count 8 sets. Always beginning from the index finger, working our way towards the little finger. If this is at all confusing, so this is a reference to lessons I already gave several minutes ago. If there's any confusion, just let me know in the chat window and I will gladly use visual aids. I guess I can do that right now. So on our right hand, we can count 12, beginning on our index finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's how we count 12 reps. On our left hand, we could count the first set, the second set, the third set, the fourth set, the fifth set, the sixth set, the seventh set, and the eighth set. Together, let's chant the fourth quarter of the Heart Sutra. Therefore, one should know that this perfect understanding of noticing and releasing is like a great mantra, is like an unequal mantra. The destroyer of the tyranny of all suffering, the incorruptible truth. A mantra prajnaparamita's perfect wisdom of awareness and release could therefore be proclaimed. This is the mantra gate gate para samgate bodhiswaha. Gone completely and perfectly gone to enlightenment, may it be so. Quick reminder, the most efficient way to practice mindfulness is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation, thus facilitating perception. Similarly, the most efficient way to practice meditation is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation, thus facilitating release. Since we have now come to the fourth and final collection of 96 breaths, let us gingerly place the great knuckle at the base of our right little finger and rest it upon the tip of our left little finger in our lap. Let us seal this morning's practice by chanting love and letting love and releases, wishes for universal enlightenment and well-being. May all circumstances of all beings appearing yet impermanent be as safe and abundant as a real or imagined Buddha's land. May all minds of all beings yet impermanent be as joyfully enlightened as a real or imagined Buddha's mind. May all relationships of all beings resounding yet impermanent be as peacefully loving as a real or imagined Buddha's speech. May all bodies of all beings sensual yet impermanent be as beautifully healthy as a real or imagined Buddha's form. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tonight's evening meditation class and group practice. And, excuse me, and if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.